with a heart attack or a stroke, and if they, speak without garbled words and have kind of this a certain spunk about them, the young people actually love to have them and actually adopt them. So of course, what happened is that the young people adopted my Peruvian party wife Becky and I, and so long story short, we were at the Ave until basically closing Friday night. So.
You guys spent most of Thursday and Friday at the Ave.
Well, let's see. Let's just say that when I made breakfast for us on Saturday morning, that was a kind of a meal of survival. Never did coffee and eggs taste so not only good but necessary. Now, here's what I missed on Saturday, because this is all part of the Stockton scene, and I don't want to leave all this out. I had intended to go on Jane's Walk.
Which I attended.
Oh, you were in Jane's Walk.
Yeah.
And see, I missed you because I just enjoyed too much of Stockton being alive.
I was there with
on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night.
I was there with our friend Roy Morales from Chase Chevrolet.
Oh, I know, and I've been missing Roy. And Roy and I always usually bump into each other. And his wife, who's now known as Kate.
He told me this story on our walk.
Yeah, and I knew her as Kathy in high school at Manteca High. And actually, she recognized me, originally.
Yeah, Roy told me this story.
Yeah, and that was at a fundraiser at the...
Because I mentioned your show that was going to be on tonight.
And we discovered all this at a really high-class fundraiser outdoors at the Annunciation Church. And on that particular event, my wife and I won a beautiful, huge barbecue pit with a single raffle ticket.
Nice. I love those raffles.
And we were dragged there at the last minute by a wonderful lady named Martina Marios, who some of you in here probably know from the Save the Stockton Foundation, who's trying to get the former brass water fountain moved over to the Martin Luther King Park. And she begged us to go to that fundraiser that night. We ran into Roy Morales and Kate, and then we won the barbecue pit, which just barely fit in my 1999 ubiquitous white Plymouth minivan with the dents on the right-hand side. But those vehicles are worth their weight in gold. Never, ever trade them in or give them. They have no resale value whatsoever. They have no trade-in value, but they're the greatest vehicles ever made. So anyway, there's what killed me. So I missed the Jane's Walk the next morning. And Jasmine Leak is the one who created that with Third City Coalition.
Yep.
My wife and I have known Jasmine for a long, long time. And we also love the Third City Coalition, all the things she's doing.
Yeah,
I should point out the Third City Coalition is located in, you guessed it, the Court Tower.
Her, Sarah Washington, Emily.
Yes.
They do a great job over there.
And then, of course, what was supposed to happen was as I did Jane's Walk, then I was just going to walk right on up to the Miracle Mile, or to the north end of the Miracle Mile, to Caldwell Park.
Yeah, where
the stock market was.
Yeah,
where
Jane's Walk ended at the stock market.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Yes, it was all beautiful, coordinated event. The weather was absolutely gorgeous that day. A little bit warm, but still gorgeous. Well, what was the temperature? Like 80 something?
Yes, it was really warm that morning. Actually.
Yeah, that was. I actually got up early that morning and walked Victory Park, which I do quite often, including today, I might add. Unfortunately, the walk that usually kind of clears the cobwebs and kind of gets the blood circulating, kind of puts me back in rhythm, didn't do much for me that morning. So anyway, so I missed. So there's Jane's Walk.
The next one.
And then there's the stock market.
Yes.
Now, as if that wasn't enough, the other thing I might have attended if Stockton Alive hadn't almost killed me on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was there was an event at the Sycamore on Saturday night.
Matt Amon?
Yes. Matt Amon with the Huddle and the Sycamore Club had, and I don't remember the name of the person, but Stockton's great literacy person and incredible poet Paula Scheel, no less authority than Paula Scheel, who I ran into at the end of my Victory Park walk that morning, told me, and I can't remember the name, but there's an artist, a very famous, good artist, who was going to have paintings on display and some other stuff at the Sycamore, which I believe also has live music and drinks and stuff on those type of social events. And it was only a $5 cover charge to go there. But again, Saturday I just wound up... Well, actually, my wife and I had to drag ourselves out of our stupor, actually, because my sister and a friend of hers were having a retirement social event at the University of the Pacific at about the same time as the Sycamore thing. So actually, I wasn't home kind of like bombed out at that point. I was actually at University of Pacific in a real classy place called the President's Room, which is a beautiful private little dining hall or a reception hall off the side of the president's office, which of course is Dr. Pamela Ibeck, which is in Anderson Hall which is 2 buildings behind the Burns Tower, kind of sort of in the middle of the campus. Pretty centrally located, pretty near the old McCaffrey Center. The McCaffrey Center used to be the student union before they built that huge DeRosa student union, which is spectacular, by the way. That's another thing. We could spend a whole show just talking about University of the Pacific. And I've actually talked a lot about them in previous shows. So anyway, so I had so much to do on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that I missed that incredible triple header of events on Saturday. Now, on Sunday, I could, and my wife and I were actually having a Mother's Day yesterday, by the way, because we went to Ashland, Oregon the week before to the Shakespearean Festival, the world famous, internationally famous Shakespearean Festival. That was her actual Mother's Day gift from a friend of hers. And by the way, I want to compare Ashland, Oregon. I want to talk about Ashland, Oregon, another show, to talk about what can happen in a downtown when you put together a spectacular series of things that really click, and you get tourism and money that comes in, and what can happen with that. And Stockton, with an inland port, a deep water channel, great weather, the Delta nearby, reasonably good sports with the University of Pacific and Delta College, and all the other stuff we have with the Stockton ballpark and the Stockton Heat hockey and all this other, should just be a gold mine for tourism.
I agree with you. And also, by the way, Ashland, Oregon, home to Southern Oregon University.
That's right.
Yes.
In fact, we stayed in a motel right across the street from Southern Oregon University.
Southern Oregon, one of the top NIA
Yes.
power football schools.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. We were right there in Southern Oregon. By the way, you can walk Ashland, Oregon. The whole city's about 10 blocks long. The official population is about 20,000, but on any given day in the summer, at the height of the Shakespearean Festival, by the way, goes from February to October. But in that time frame, in the summer, the high season, as you might want to call it, they have as many as 10 or 15,000 people visiting.
Wow.
Or I don't know, maybe 5,000 people visiting. Then you got the population of the school. So Ashland, Oregon's really at times about 45,000 people. Now, of course, I'm from Chico State, and we boosted the population in Chico a bit too with our university, as any college town will. So that's all the things that happen. As, you know, you always hear people say, "Oh, nothing to do in Stockton, boring. Got to go out of town. Got to drive to Barrie. Got to go to L.A. Got to go to the mountains. Got to go to the ocean." All that's great, by the way. There's nothing wrong with doing any of that. Now, I just told you what 1 week could happen and how I couldn't even get to all of it, and then having too good a time kind of wore me out to even get to half of it. Let me name off all the things that in a normal week also happen. I can't think exactly what they call this event. There's more than one, by the way. You might know, Dustin. If Joy Nees were here, she'd know for sure, and some of the people out there in the greater KXVS broadcasting studio lobby would probably know this. But every other Tuesday night, there's like these interactive art things that go on. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've heard of them before.
Yeah, there's adult art painting. Well, I'd say adult. It's not, let me rephrase that. Anybody's welcome to do this, and then some of them are called adult. I believe because what they're allowing or asking people to paint is more of a kind of a freedom of expression type of painting. Now, these events, by the way, what they do is they'll take about a long table. They'll put a bunch of tables together, make a long row or a couple rows, and the easels are set up in almost like a row of tents there. But there's easels on each side of the table, and people can sit there and have little cups of paint. And what they do is they sit there and paint, and then they're served food and drinks. And part of the idea of these things, not only to get people to be creative and express themselves and have a good time, is also to create businesses for the local places. Now, the places I know of so far that have done this include the Miracle Miles Whiskey Barrel, the Deliberation Room's done them, Red Orchids Cafe downtown has done them. I don't know if Werlo's has done that yet, but I know that the Ave has done it. There's quite a few places in Stockton that have done it. I probably haven't hit half of them. But so that's something that happens, I believe, at least one of these organizations does this every other Tuesday. And I know that Jasmine is having a birthday version of one of these things. Our friend Jasmine Leak coming up in a week or two on a Tuesday night. So I'm looking for, and that one's downtown, I believe. I'm looking forward to that.
By the way, next week I believe Conversations Over Cocktail.
Oh yeah,
Tuesday.
Yeah. I love Conversations Over Cocktails because I love to have cocktails. I love to converse.
And it's actually going to be at Channel Brewing.
Oh, there you go.
The next tower up is a couple of days later.
And that brings me to kind of like sort of our closing kind of crescendo of things you can do here. People say they love live music, and in some, dancing too. Not every place is dancing, but live music. I'm going to name off, and I know I'm missing a lot of them, but I'm going to name off all the places I know of that have live music in Stockton. Okay. Got Take 5 at the Valley Brewing Company, which actually I believe is an official partnership with UOP, right?
Yeah, right. I believe so. Right over here. On the Miracle Mile.
And it's a specially beautifully designed music room, a music banquet dining hall.
Yeah, they have comedy shows and
right, and they have comedy shows. And that was created out of kind of an empty warehouse thing, and then you got to give the Valley Brew credit for that. Then you've got Werlo's. We know they're pretty renowned now for having music. Was it 6 or 7 nights a week?
Yeah, basically across the street.
Pretty much every night.
Across the street from us here at KXVS and the Peace and Justice Center.
Then you've got gently jazz or something similar to jazz or improvisation or folk music at the very least at the Mile Wine. Then you've got music at least 3 nights a week, I think, at Garlic Brothers out by the water.
Still haven't been to Garlic Brothers.
Now I'm very familiar with it. I'll tell you why in a moment. And then you've got DeVega Brothers in the Stone Creek Village, which is where my wife and I go dancing a lot. Then you've got music and dancing at West Lane Bowl. And I'd say it's either once a week or a couple times every other week you've got music at the Whiskey Barrel. And then I don't know what the current state of the Shadows is on North Pacific Avenue, but the Shadows has been renowned for music over the years. And generally when they're open for business, they do have music. And then, of course, my Peruvian party wife and I, Becky, are members of the Village West Yacht Club, which has a really blowout Taco Tuesday that we go to quite often during the summer. And that's across the water from Garlic Brothers. And sometimes we'll start at the Village West Yacht Club and we'll go to Garlic Brothers. So that's just the ones I can name. I know I'm leaving out quite a few. Occasionally there's live music at Deliberation Room. Red Orchids has a lot of things that go on. Red Orchids has models. They actually do like lingerie shows and model shows from time to time there also. They have an Asian chamber coming up this Thursday night in which they're going to have Polynesian dancers, among other things. That's going to be fun. Now, do you know what Polynesian dancers do, Dustin, or why there's...
I've seen them, yeah.
With the grass skirts and the coconut shells? Yeah. Can't ask for much more than that. And then you've got every 3 Thursdays of every month, generally throughout the year, you've got chamber mixers. They're open to the public. You can go to these chamber mixers, Stockton Greater Chamber, African American Chamber, the Asian Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber. All these different chambers have these mixers, and you can network with business people, and most especially small independent business people, or places like KXVS that are trying to make a local statement. Then, as if all that just pure fun stuff wasn't good enough, if you got the high culture and the intellectual thing, you've got special movies from time to time at Delta College or University of Pacific. And then University of Pacific has special lecture series. For example, because I'm the facilitator of the Downtown Comeback Club, I got invited by professors from the University of Pacific to go to the private reception in the president's room one time to then meet personally, and then later hear a person named Maria Hinojosa, who apparently, in a big-time national network broadcaster on NPR radio, speak to the University of the Pacific audience in the DeRosa Center. And then, of course, they had, I think, recently had a movie series with, and I think it was at Pacific about the killing fields of Cambodia. So, and then we have an international film festival here every year. Mm-hmm. So, with all those things, Stockton is plenty alive! ! Goodness gracious, you couldn't be more. As I said, it's so alive it nearly killed me last week. Unfortunately, that's not. I don't learn from those things. I'll be out there again, like right there again, partying with the young folks in the near future. You guys, these tower ups may be the end of me.
Taking the glasses off, Nate. Taking the glasses off.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I left the whole suit on today. Usually when we get into the serious part of the show, I take my coat off and loosen my tie.
It's not that warm in here today, actually.
Actually, in here, it's really comfortable despite how hot it is outside.
It is.
I have to give it to KXVS. We have good climate control in here. Plus, this little miniature fan that's off camera actually feels very good.
So, Nate, what's the closing segment of the show, basically?
Well, the closing segment of the show is, despite all that fun I told you about, there's great culture here, too.
There is.
My wife last year, not this year, I could have done it this year, but last year, we saw 2 ballets at the Bob Hope Theater, both done by Russian National Ballet Touring Companies.
Wow.
One was Swan Lake, and the other was the Nutcracker Suite.
Nice.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that ballet is exactly my number one favorite thing to do all the time. And then this past Sunday was the classic movie North by Northwest at the Bob Hope Theater. Mm-hmm. I missed that too.
Wow.
Because I was actually at the Cineplex with my
There's so
wife.
much going on, Nate.
See, there you go.
You need to duplicate yourself.
That way. No, that'd be scary.
It would.
Humankind can only take one person that can talk this much. Although I do intend to have guest speakers, because I know the people that want to listen to me talk all the time.
Nate, and
We're going to have guest speakers. I'm working on that very hard.
well, everybody, this has been Stockton Alive, and thank you for tuning in with Nate Knott, right here on KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
Good evening, Stockton. Richard Slezak here. Hey, that was a fine Stockton Alive rebroadcast. And Dustin doing good work there. Yeah, plenty of good things to do here in Stockton. And I'm glad you're listening in. It's time for the Saturday Evening News, hosted by Richard Slezak, me. And you are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. We got 8:14 p.m. It's May 27th, 2017. And here on the Saturday Evening News, we got coming up further analysis of the November 8th election. Some analysis of last Tuesday's congressional election. Or was that Thursday? No, it was Tuesday. Gianforte, only worth $500 million, it now represents the state of Montana, or, it's just one big district, 700,000 registered voters therein. And, oh my, and your average congressional district, well, you figure there's 52 here in California for a population of 38 million people. So that comes to about 500,000 people per district. And you're looking at Montana, and that's probably, well, for every registered voter, you figure there's half a person. Well, actually, Montana's population is probably around 1,100,000. So with that, I got a little bit of music for you, and we'll get to that. And here we go. It's the theme for my shows. Woo! Melody somewhat like Sun Valley Jump by Glenn Miller. Somewhat modified. Plus incorporating melodies from other musical pieces. Going back maybe 100 years. Sun Valley Jump was composed, I believe, in maybe 1942, 1941, maybe as late as 43. Swing music. Wonderful. So this is a form of swing with that kind of 50s style was rolling in. Not something of Artie Shaw in 1945, far from that. Woo! Quite a crescendo there at the end. All righty, I'm Richard, and it is the Saturday Evening News where we delve into things. And, well, you know me, I like politics, and so let's head on over to the big table and see what surprises can be brought forth. All systems are go. Greetings to you on YouTube. So, and oh my golly, that light's pointed the other way. Do we have a reading here? Yes, we have a reading. Do we have a reading here? Yes, we have a reading here. And let's get over to this microphone. Yeah, all the major networks are here for this news story. And so, yeah, let's just bring it on up like so. Now, November 8th, we had a big presidential election, and we're still... Well, I like to sort things out about it because, well, were there voting shenanigans? Were there vote counting shenanigans? Were there laws on the books in certain states that kept people from voting? Or their votes, or the votes on their ballots were not counted? And so that's it. You got 50 elections, 50 states, and every state does things a little different, some more different than others. So we're going to continue to uncover. Now, I'm going state to state and sharing this with you. And we do have, it's 8:20. You are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org, coming to you from the John Moriarty Studio, 231 West Bedford Road in the 1900 block of Pacific Avenue. As a matter of fact, I can look through a slit between screen and window and look out on Tap Plastics. And with that, let's get started. Now, first, went over to Arizona, and you can look this up too at azsos.gov. And there was one of the things I was looking at this past week was provisional ballot voting and voter identification requirements. It seems that some states, they just want to narrow it down. Driver's license or state-issued ID. With your picture on it if you're not a driver, or if you're not qualified to be able to drive a car or truck. Usually if you can drive a truck, you can, Class A means you can drive anything. Class B is you're a chauffeur's license, bus driver. Class A, of course, is for articulated trucks. And wow, that's what's going on here. My camera ain't changing. Let's see. I'm gonna recruit some help here. You can see how we do things around here. Donovan, could you get the cameras going? I'm just getting one focused on me, and we're not doing the most highly professional and polished. Here's Donovan.
Hey.
Now,
What's up, guys?
now, can we get it going to get the cam? I got 3 here.
Make it rotate?
Yeah.
Press
Oh. Bingy.
So now we'll switch between all the different cameras.
Oh, okay. All righty. That's you just learned something new, folks.
Yep. And you got it going right there.
All right. So it's kind of a hobo stew, stone soup of radio shows here. Thank you, Donovan. And so, again, we're going over to the state across the Colorado from the very southeast portions of California. That is east of 114 degrees west longitude. And that's Arizona. And so the identification necessary to vote in Arizona is fairly generous, and it's also replicated by you can have photo ID or without a photo identification, and this comes from now ARS. I guess that stands for Arizona Regulations and Statutes, with a funny S16-579, Section A, subsection double square. And if you can see my writing here, which camera is that? Boop. Yeah, there. Is it there? Yeah, there it is. There it is. You're getting it. You're getting. And so you can look up that statute, and it fully explains it. It's good to look up the law. Good to know the law. You know, we're a nation of laws. You know, some people obey them better than others. Now, that is also went over to Ohio, which I'll be mentioning more about. And where's my Ohio? I was writing up on Ohio. That's North Carolina. Ohio. Beep beep. Okay. What? That's strange. Well, anyways, driver's license, of course, but also utility bill or current utility bill, because it's going to have your name and address on it. A bank statement with your name and address on it. You know, it's got your account number and such like. They're not supposed to write that down. You know, the poll watchers, not the watchers, but the workers, they're embezzlers too. Don't want that. Some are. You know, so fair warning. I live in Stockton. I know some of the people that have done that work a little bit. Most of them are good. Some of them are, well, you know, they like crack, you know, and so, you know, crack cocaine. They ain't the best of people. So continuing to march, a state issued for students, if the college or university identification has name, your name on it, and your dorm address, yep, good, you're good. That's where you're registered to vote to. Yep, that's good. So Arizona's pretty good in that regard. Now, on provisional ballots, couldn't find anything with specific data. Doesn't mean it's not there. I haven't found it yet. But there was a press release on December 5th, 2016, that issuance of provisional ballots declined by 80,000 since the 2012 general election. Now, that could have been from 80,001 down to 1. It could have been 1 million down to 940,000. So I don't think it was 1 million, because the election in Arizona did only entail, as I mentioned last week, there are 1,100,000 registered Democrats, 1,259,406 registered Republicans in Arizona, Libertarians 31,000, nearly 32, Greens 7,000, Independents, declined estates, no party preference. 1,235,911 for a total of 3,636,504. Now, on or by November 8th, they did 2,661,497 did show up to vote. And so that made for a 74 and 1700s turnout. That's 3 out of 4 voters. That's respectable. I haven't looked up California yet because it's so wonderfully blue. Ain't nothing. California, a wonderful place. It's so, but turnout, yikes. That is not a good thing. And see, I've been hearing, as I mentioned previous weeks, of high numbers of provisional ballots in Michigan not being counted. Now, Wisconsin, that's more of a solid fact because that, do strive for facts here. When I'm wrong, I want to come back and tell you, no, this is the right stuff. This is right. This is from a more numerous sources or a more reliable source. And Secretary of State's Board of Elections, that's reliable. You know, it ain't perfect. Nothing is. These are all human endeavors, but they're good enough. You know, but there were 200,000 voters who were turned away in Wisconsin because they lacked proper ID. And part of what I'm investigating for you is where there are severe restrictions on IDs. You got the turnaways, and that's what you got in Wisconsin. Now, I haven't found in other states where the laws are as restrictive as they are in either Texas or Wisconsin, but they need to rescind those laws. They need to enable people to have a wider variety of identifications in order that they can vote. So continuing, a second source for exit poll data I found is the New York Times. Now, it came from the same original source, that is Edison Research Company, as the CNN, and it's formatted a little bit differently, but you can find it there, newyorktimes.com/election results president. So, continuing to march, going through our further analysis of the last election, the move on to always controversial state of Florida. And they were pretty good about recording their provisional ballots, submitted and counted. They got it broken down county by county. I'm not going to worry you with that stuff. Just going to give you some first county, Alachua. 993 people voted with provisional ballots, but only 651 were counted. Goes all the way through to Washington County. There's 30-some, maybe 35 counties in Florida, where only 10 people voted with provisional ballots, small county, and they were all counted. Good Florida in that regard. So, total provisional ballots submitted statewide, 24,460. And provisional ballots counted, 10,998. Let me take a quick note here. Our show start was at 8:14. And so far we've gone into Arizona, Now we're moving over to FLA. Now they got together with the federal government. Florida? Yes, Florida. Rick Scott, governor? Yeah, cue ball that just likes to exploit people, and they have stand your ground, and you can pack heat, and Trayvon Little got the short end of it, and the guy was acquitted. It's Florida. It ain't pretty. But they went to the U.S. Election Assistance Commission Election Administration and Voting Survey, did the gathering of data from the county supervisor of elections offices. Here we call them registrars of voters. And continuing. Don't want to go to one thing and then come back to Florida. So there were, Florida does have 29 electoral college votes. Now that might be changing. That might be the last time they have that, because electoral college votes are only a quadrennial phenomenon. They might be gaining a congressman. Might be. It's questionable, because populations are coming up here in California as well as Florida, and they're not in bad decline in other states. And heck, every state, no matter how small your population, at least you get one congressman. So, there's only... You only cut up the pie so many ways. So, only Wisconsin so far have I found voters turned away for lacking proper identification, considerable data. And don't want to, last weekend I mentioned that Kirkpatrick in Arizona and McGinty in Pennsylvania had all the Democrats gone and voted in those states in that Senate race, they would have won. There would have been 2 more Democrats in the Senate. But alas and alack, not all Democrats got out and voted, and not everybody who voted for Hillary voted down ballot for the Democratic senatorial candidates in both states. Had they done that, we'd have 2 more Democrats in the Senate. So, yeah. You got 14 offices on the ballot, as we did here in Stockton. Cast a vote for each one, Do some research, talk to people, find things out. That's where belonging to a party is really helpful. They'll tell you who to vote for. You don't have to follow it, but at least, what you call yourself, those others, live up to it, pal. Get your philosophy of government into government at all levels. Elect your fellows and your fillies. So, continuing. And may as well go on to another one of those controversial states. And that is Michigan. My wife is from Traverse City, and she has relatives there. I've never been to Michigan. Closest I've been is Fort Wayne in Lima, Ohio. So, provisional ballots. The state total. Affidavit ballots tabulated. Provisional affidavit ballots tabulated, 2,057 statewide. Provisional envelope ballots counted, 338. Provisional envelope ballots invalid, 1,542. Those are some people that might have been caught up in the cross-check. And because Michigan's, they did some cross-checking that we've talked about before, and that's because they had common names, common to minorities such as Garcia or Jones or Washington or Lee, more common. That hits some white folk, but it hits a lot of Chinese. Kong, Chong. How many Juan Garcias are there in America? How many George Washingtons? I think at one count there were like 600. This is a few decades back. I grew up with a George Washington. Yeah, there was no white blood in George. Nice guy, got along fine with him. And played football and wrestled. He was there part of the season. He was a pretty good natural athlete. Now, provisional, signed, not in possession of picture ID affidavit classification was 18,567. So they let him vote, but they voted with a provisional ballot. Oh well, there are some of their rules. And my note is that there was a document on voter identification requirements in Michigan, and they're fairly generous, similar to what I found for most other states I've looked at so far. And again, that's not quite as generous as California. If you have a state or county or city, if you got a library card with your name and address on it, that's good here in California, but not in other states. So, continuing to March, North Carolina. Now, a lot of their stuff comes down through PDFs, and one of the PDFs, these are computer data compiled onto, it's still on my computer. I better check it off. Actually, it's just taken up a bunch of space at this point. Circuitry is occupied by the data, so I gotta eliminate that because they want you to pay money for it. You can get it off the internet, but then they expect you to send some money. Strange. Oh well. Just trying to cover their costs for something that does require time, but there isn't that high a demand for it, so there's some justification for it. It's a form of charging fees for government services. So, that means to attain government revenue. Now, it was by county, and I mean, they had everything on this. There were party affiliation, gender, ethnicity, race, name, address, phone numbers, the city you lived in, your party affiliation. Also, and I mean the thousands and thousands of people on these, it didn't have a final count. That was kind of strange. But so the listed cause to vote provisional, there were no record of registration, unreported move, incorrect precinct. You're on your way home from work. There's only 15 minutes left to vote. I can't make it all the way home in time, then over to the precinct's polling place. So I'll just, there's a school over there, a fire station. It's got a polling place. So, it's same county, so I'll just go in there and cast a provisional ballot. And those were counted. Now, the results some ballots were partially counted, others were not counted. Then third category, or third type of result, was that they were approved. All the votes cast, as listed on the ballots, were approved. They were countable. Now, the result of that were no records of registration that were approved, no records of registration that approved and not counted. Some were counted, some were not. Some were approved and some were not. Unreported moves were counted, but then some of those weren't counted either. It kind of like, whoo. Unaffiliated voter, they identified as UNA, Democrat as Dem, Republican REP. There were no third parties listed. Now, there was a fourth listed cause, and that was previously removed. Could have been any number of causes. Maybe somebody moved away and then they moved back. Now, some of those were counted, and some of them weren't, you know. And as I mentioned earlier, race was listed, you know. Wow. Yeah. Even though the June of 2013, the Voting Rights Act, especially Section 4, was gutted. And many aspects of that law, which were brought down, you know, to state law as well, were held to, because they do count these. I mean, it's at least there's a record. You know, they might not be perfect. And granted, you know, in North Carolina, there's a lot of white people that don't want black people voting. And if they can get a few from voting, well, that's better than letting them all vote. And not a redeeming characteristic of, not someone I want to hang out with. Man, if you're willing to take somebody's voting away from them, man, that's woo-wee. That could be a dangerous hombre, you know. Because I'm strong for voting rights. I mean, if you're going to ask people to go into the armed forces to defend this country under the form of a draft, which is totally sanctioned by the militia clause of the Second Amendment, then you got to give them. You have to be dedicated towards them having voting rights and equal protection of the law. Continuing. Now, voter turnout in North Carolina is pretty good, 68.98, nearly 69%. Now, it wasn't on a PDF, but that PDF was lengthy. Now, let the state of North Carolina know I'm going to delete it. You know, can't send it back. They already sent it out, you know, electronically. Now, they also list, interesting, Election Day voting. 872,482 went to the polls and voted for Donald Trump on Election Day. Now, on the days that people could have voted, and usually in most counties, you got to go to the Board of Elections, depends on the title, or the registrar. You know, we have early voting here in Stockton. Here in San Joaquin County, you only do it to one place, the registrar's office. And we're a county of 600,000, you know. Gee, there should be more places available. I regularly went to the registrar's office during that time, and it wasn't exactly like there were lines forming people. And it was midday, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So That's a good thing to have. It ain't perfect, but it is available. Early voting is available. And part of citizenship is that, oh, you might have to walk and take some time to do it. Well, it is a civilization. It's a pretty doggone good one. And, but when they want to cut food stamps, I could see you getting kind of angry, If they're going to cut off food stamps, then I shouldn't really have to walk so far to vote for early voting or travel or take time in travel time to do that, That's governments have responsibilities. Okay, 1,376,149 people went and voted early for Donald Trump. By mail in North Carolina for last November's election. 98,147 voted for Donald Trump by mail. Provisional, 12,853. Now, getting back to this list, I didn't count every one of them. And again, I haven't found that number yet of how many provisional ballots were cast and not counted. So, that would take a good while to count up. Pretty much similar for Hillary. For 624,895 voted for Hillary on Election Day, but 1,460,000, that's nearly 100,000 more voted for Hillary early, at the registrars for the most part in the weeks preceding the election. 91,000 by mail, 7,000 fewer than for the Trumpsta. But about the same number provisional, 12,218. For Gary Wetzel-Liebho, similar again. 59,000 voted for him on Election Day, 63,000 voted early, 6,000 voted by mail, and 1,000 voted provisionally. Write-ins, 47,000 people voted for a write-in. Quite a few of those might have been Evan McMillan. 20,000 did a write-in on Election Day. Nearly 24,000 voted early, but did a write-in. Those people were probably voting for a lot of things down ballot. So they just, you talk to those folks, get your story from them for what they did, why they did what they did. 2,000 by mail, 284 provisionally. The ratio is about the same. And then for Jill Stein, the one candidate who did stand up for doing recounts, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, but she didn't get the backing. But at least she demanded it and got done what she could get done with the backing she received, because her name was on the ballot. Good for her. She got 12,000 votes in North Carolina, 5,500 on Election Day, 5,900 early voting, 650 by mail, and 68 provisional. Now, voter identification requirements. You have to have a document with, they made this pretty easy to find, fairly easy to find on their website. Which is State Board of Elections, ncsbe.gov. Document with current name and current address on it, North Carolina driver's license, leads. Any government agency photo ID with current name and address. Current utility bill, bank statement, government check or paycheck. College or university photo ID with proof of campus habitation. So, somewhat limited, but not absolute, not the severe restrictions of an Alabama or what Alabama wanted to do or what Texas either has done or wanted to do. Continuing. And we've done Michigan, and we just got through with North Carolina. And now we're going to go to Ohio. Script, Ohio, Ohio State Marching Band. And boy, oh boy. A lot there on at sos.state.us. Apparently there's another site, but it's not the official site, and the computer got all excited about that. Now, on their general election ballot, they were very generous. They had a bunch of candidates on there from various parties. They had even McMillan, there was a Richard Duncan, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, of course, Rodham and Johnny for the middle names there. On their, they had a Tom Connors running, a J.R. DeMare, he was the Green, and Scott Rupert. They had a bunch of people running. There were 5,607,641 who voted in the presidential election. About 100,000 fewer voted in the Senate election. So, there are people who just went and voted for president and then didn't even bother to vote down ballot. And, I encountered a fellow who did that here not too long ago. He just went in, he voted for Jill Stein, that was it. Well, young kid. Oh, well. Continuing. One of the funny things was under registered voters, under file, under Husted, more provisional and absent ballots cast and counted. He did draw that down, trying to get fewer provisional ballots from having to be cast. He's working on that and has had some success. They did provide data. Registered voters updated online, 400,000. Deceased removed from rolls, 500,000. Voters contacted to update information. Now, here's some shenanigans, or some suspected shenanigans, because this went on in some other states. That is, they'd send out a postcard. And people who were used to receiving mail and acting on it, they did, and they sent it back with the information requested. Others, not so much. Now, who would that be? Older people reacting to the mail, acting on the mail. Younger people, not so much. So what did that? State reached out to update your information. Well, you can do that yourself. I mean, if you're still in the same place, why should you have to update the information? You're already registered to there. Oh, but they just wanted to double check. So that was 1,500,000. That's between a fourth and a fifth of their total voting. That's a fifth of their total voting population. Unregistered contacted to register, 1,650,000. Now, I don't know if this goes back a year or several years. I think it's over the time that Mr. Husted has been there. Duplicate registration resolved. Now, once in a while, now I've seen this on voter indexes. Juan Garcia, well, there's two of them in the same house, but just one real person. Oh, he was aware of it. You know, he had told the registrar. This is down in Modesto. And I'm not sure. Juan Garcia is just my made-up name for this evening. It can be John Doe. In California, I like Juan Garcia. And he was understanding. He didn't vote twice. And he had told the registrar. Registrar just didn't get around to that paperwork, you know. Quite literally, it would have been, when he did go in, the registrar should have taken the initiative and said, let me pull both your affidavits. If there's two affidavits, then I got to pull one and give it to you, and the other we put back on file. And then from there, we can do the electronic, or just right there at the counter. And he could watch. Juan could watch. So, continuing. But the duplicate registration resolved, kind of like, woohoo, red flag. Did that have something to do with cross-check? Because Husted's a big fan of cross-check. And as I turn to my pages here on well, I don't have it all in front of me, but it seems to me that Michigan, Arizona, North Carolina, cross-check had a lot of, I lost my page, or my original page too kind of migrated. Okay, Ohio had quite a few. So, now in Ohio, to register to vote and to register and vote, you can't register or vote if you're in jail or prison serving a felony conviction, or if you are convicted twice on election laws violation. You're permanently off the voter rolls. But here's where they get a little generous. If you're on felony parole here in California, you are not supposed to register to vote or to vote. And that holds true in a number of states. I believe Iowa is one as well. Ohio, you can. You can register to vote once you're out of the slammer. You know, the bus pulls up to San Quentin, you got your suitcase, you got your civilian clothes, or to Corcoran, you know, and you're free, man. Might not have, might only have $50 in your pocket, but you're free. You could, head home. Hopefully you'll have a home to go to. That's important. Makes for a much more efficient repatriating into society after you're freed. If you have a roof over your head to go to and maybe a loving family, woo, it'd be nice, But you can vote. Let's say, you're freed from the queue. You live in Sac, Folsom, right there, couple miles off of 50, but it's either a long walk or Sac is there. You're heading home. Maybe on the way you want to stop at the registrar and you could re-register to vote. Well, you could do that in Ohio. California law ain't that way. So you can vote if you're convicted of a misdemeanor. Now, I don't know any state where if you get a misdemeanor conviction, they take your voting rights away. So that's on the generous side there. And that's a good thing. Continuing. And so just some updates on that. Trying to keep a lid on it, or get a lid on it. Try to make things better. Try to answer questions of why didn't Hillary win? Were there shenanigans? And there were slight, but nothing really overwhelming. In Ohio, statewide voter turnout was 71%. Low county was Lawrence with 62%. High county was Putnam. A lot of Putnam counties. There's a Putnam County just above New York City and New York. Putnam County, Ohio, led Ohio with an 82% voter turnout. Good for those in Putnam County, Ohio. It's important to vote. Part of your very humanity and affiliation in society. Participate. And don't want to leave anything out for you. Going quick pass through my notes. Again, the original source for the was CNN.com election results exit polls for the exit poll data. You can find it there. I like to tell you my sources. Oh, here we got something. No. Yeah, one over North Carolina, Arizona, and rightius, Goodliam. Let me not lose this stuff. We have, what do we got? We got 9 p.m. on the clock on the wall. Your web tuned to www.thevoiceofstockton.org. We got 9:06 on one of the computer clocks. So, sorry about that, folks. We're gonna, oh, there we go. No, I don't have the Ohio data that all righty, just trying to keep it organized for us. And I'm going to keep digging on that stuff and sharing it with you. I know for some it might be mundane, but we got Trump and a Republican majority in the House. Gianforte just got elected in Montana. Why? Because the majority, about 3/4 of the people who voted early or by mail, already sent in their ballots. So, that's why a big reason why he won over there. Oh, speaking of the Gianforte, yeah. Let's get this out. Now we're going to kind of go to, call it extra stories. Ramadan started today. Be nice if it was strictly in the winter, But then it is a worldwide religion, but the vast majority of Muslims, well, many live equatorially. But Ramadan, you're not supposed to drink even water during the day. From sunrise to sunset, you're not even to drink water or eat. It lasts a month. Today's the 27th of May, and it's going to be going till the 27th of June. We got local Muslims around here. Oh, pal, if you're going to have to be working outside, working up a sweat, oh, man, you could die of dehydration. You could get heat prostration, trying to pull that off. I mean, if you're working hard, and I'd classify hard work as wrestling or football practice. When I was a junior in high school, I'd lose 10 pounds in 2 hours, 2.25 hours. That was all water weight. Think about that. If it's not restored, and you're working that hard, burning that much energy, losing that much water and sweat, and just breathing it out, because the area of the lungs is 20 times your skin area. So, and as you can tell on a cold day, when you can see the water in your breath, the moisture in your breath condensing, that's why you can see your breath. Well, that's for real. That's happening on a hot day too. So, anyways, Ramadan starts today, so if you belt down half a gallon of Gatorade about 11 a.m., I see a Muslim gulping down a half gallon of Gatorade, cut him some slack. Cut him some slack. He's keeping himself alive, So, and other politically related news or news related to politics or just life in general, well, this is also kind of related to Muslim Americans. Maybe some would say, why don't you just do it in tomorrow's Islam show, Slezak? Well, I'm just sharing it with you now. Jeremy Joseph Christian. Well, if he is, he's one in name only, because he stabbed to death 2 fellas on the Max train up in the light rails up in Portland. And it included some throat slitting. Real nice fella, But he's bad-mouthing, yelling at, heaping scorn on 2 Muslim women right there in the same train car. One's dressed up either a hijab or maybe she was in full burqa. Either way, hey, it's her right. This is America. If she's got the hijab, she's just practicing modesty. Cut her some slack. It's like a headscarf. That's all it is. Cut them some slack. Don't be. I mean, Rachel went to, Jacob went to, who became Israel. Yeah, when he brought Rachel home to Isaac, he brought her veiled. But then she was riding a camel. Yeah, it's not so bad. You don't exactly wear a bikini when you're riding a camel. So. But anyways, old Mr. Christian, white male, late 20s, saw his picture on TV. Looks to be late 20s, maybe early 30s at the most, and he had a sulky look on his face, a little bit of anger. You could kind of tell, not so much mentally disturbed, but just a mean fella. Mean fella. And, the death penalty's on the books up in Oregon, but just take him out of circulation permanently. That means life behind bars without parole. Okay. And JJC. Now we got 9:08 on the big clock on the wall, 9:12 on the computer clock, and a little bit on the Montana congressional election. Went to their Secretary of State, montana.gov/SOS, before the election results. And what? mtelectionresults.gov. And turnout wasn't like it was on November 8th in Ohio or Pennsylvania, or did we do Pennsylvania? I think I got some data on that. I think I wanted to. We did Ohio. Oh, okay. Pennsylvania I'll be getting to next week. But North Carolina, Ohio, much better turnout back on November 8th than, total turnout, 379,763 out of 700,428 registered voters in the state of Montana. Now, precincts, 681. Wait a minute, there's 680-some precincts in this congressional district. But it's Montana, and some of those counties only have a few hundred people living in them. And so maybe 1,500, I think, was the minimum county I saw in terms of population based on the number of voters registered. Okay, registered voters by county, 0 to 999. There's 6. Figuring average of 500, so that's, population of maybe 1,000 people in the county. Now, a peculiar thing about Montana, you don't register to party there, Now, here in California, you can register Libertarian, Green, at one time Peace and Freedom, but they've seemed to kind of fallen by the wayside. They have pretty good philosophy, though. They're still active in some places. What the heck happened? Let me call him the technician. Is he still here? Need you back. I got blue screen on the on my.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've not seen that before.
Yeah, neither have I. Yeah, but it's back on.
Nice.
Yeah. Make sure all nose hairs are visible. Snicker. I'll keep my schnoz behind the microphone.
Actually, that's what I heard.
Oh no! See you tomorrow.
See ya Monday.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, you can leave the door open. Yeah. Little cooler. Hopefully no feedback. All righty. Thank you, Donovan. Have a good evening.
No problem. You too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm bringing up the election of the thug, Gianforte in Montana, the body slammer who slammed the reporter from The Guardian.
Oh, man, tell me that.
Oh, man. Well, check it up online. Anyways, that's Greg Gianforte. Oh, he's a hardworking manager. He's a rancher and businessman. He's worth $500 million. Just a working man. Just a hard worker. Well, anyways, 189,475 people voted for him. Again, this is out of a voting total registered voters is 700,000. 166,483 voted for Rob Quist. Now, there is going to be another election for these fellas because this is just to fill a term. And that'll be coming up. Well, primary and then next general election, which will be November 2018. 16 months from now. 17 months. Now, a Mark L. Wicks, libertarian fella, he got 21,000 votes. And so, heck, that's not even enough to fill the difference between Gregory and Bobby. And anyway, 55 counties up there. And the highest Mr. Wicks got was 8%. And the highest that Gregory the Thug Gianforte got was 90% in one county. Gregory won in 45 counties, Rob Quist in 10 counties, mainly the populated ones. Again, registered voters by county, those that average 500, 6. Those that average 5,000, that is 9,999. There's 38. So you're looking at a population about 15,000. You know, you got about 38 counties that have an average population of about 15,000 in Montana. Moving to Montana for the Floss Farm. That's from Frank Zappa. Now, where you have 10,000 registered voters, and the top one's about 50,000, but 11 of those counties. Now, there are 3 parties in Montana, Republican, Democrat, and Libertarian. County turnouts range from a low of 33 and 0.6 to 71 and 1700ths. Again, statewide turnout averaged 54.22. Now, I was wondering, what do you mean? What was the? I was looking for about a half hour on the state websites for how many Democrats, how many Republicans in Montana. So I called a fella. And he was a good fella right there at Montana Democratic Party in Helena. And he told me that he was the one who informed me of the unaffiliated in Montana. Nobody registers to a party. Everybody's just unaffiliated. But the Republicans spent $8 million getting Gianforte elected. That came to $33 per vote. Not the record set. Bloomberg, when he ran for mayor in New York, he had 2 Democrats running against him, and he spent $71 per vote that he did attain, and he won. Getting to be mayor of New York. He wasn't all that bad of a mayor. But there were $6,300,000 was spent by outside the, money that came in from outside the state, money from inside the state on Gianforte's campaign, or for instance on ads attacking Rob Quist. So that came to the 8 million figure. 12-1 difference. The Democrats spent $700,000 or so on Rob Quist's behalf. And so, yo, the governor is in the building. So there's no way of knowing, since everybody's unaffiliated in Montana, what the Democratic turnout was. Because if everybody's unaffiliated, there's no way to know. They got to be registered in order to attain that as a particular party, in order to attain such information. And We got to 920 on Gian Forte versus RQ. And I'd like to share with you various organizations. Now, they might be I'm just going to do an introduction, and since I got the station manager here, I'd just like to get his opinion. And now, I'm not doing advertising. I am just making mention of organizations much similar to our parent, many of whom our parent organization's longtime members belong to. So, yeah. And so, I'm not asking you to send money to these folks. I'm just introducing these organizations to you. You might have heard of them. They send me nice stuff. I don't spend any money. They just know about me, and I'd love to send them money, but I ain't made out of it. But here we have from the World Wildlife Fund, and I mean, that's pleasant. Happy whale, care for Leviathan. That's what Jeremiah said in the Bible. Whale lover, tree hugger. Yeah, don't like them liberals. That Jeremiah must have been a liberal. Don't you think, Governor? Yeah. Here we got some pandas. But yeah, these are lovely cards. So, if you want to be supportive of World Wildlife Fund, that's what they do. World Wildlife Fund, program-related expenses, admin, and fundraising. We got better than 5-to-1 ratio in favor of they spend their money on program-related expenses, 85%. So good for them. They do a lot of good. Why, they had me, well, here's a tip chart and a calendar with some pretty stickers, giraffes and whales. Got Moby Dick there. They like old Moby. But Moby's smiling. He must have just ate Ahab. He ate some Ahab. He's smiling. Good for Moby. Yeah, old Ahab, he was from New England. I bet he was a Patriots fan, so... Uh-oh, showing some biases there. Tone it down, Slezak, you're getting controversial. So yeah, World Wildlife Fund, they're out of Washington, D.C. And they... Greeting cards and label. Remind your family and friends. Commitment to wildlife, the need to continued vigilance in protecting threatened and endangered species and their habitats. That ecology thing means something. And free gift to me. They like a little bit of money back. I can't blame them. They do wonderful work. Earth's most magnificent creatures once freely roam their natural habitats. Their numbers are diminished now, some tether on the brink of extinction. And poaching to supply the persistent and lucrative illegal wildlife trade like tiger penis soup. Yikes. But tigers hunted for that. Elephants for their tusks, rhinos for their horns. And some of that poaching is reminiscent of the poaching of the buffalo. The buffalo hunters would gun down the buffalo, and they'd just take the hides. And then the meat would spoil. The Indians would come along, and it'd be spoiled meat, and they'd just be bawling. We saw that in Dancing with Wolves. That was real. There were 60 million buffalo in this country. When Lewis and Clark crossed, from the Mississippi all the way out to Astoria, Oregon, they saw a buffalo herd cross the Missouri. It took 6 days. Oh, why so long? It was 6 million buffalo crossing the Missouri. I wonder what the Indians lived on. From Texas up to Saskatchewan, there was this wonderful beast that had evolved perfectly for that area. Giant panda is facing uncertain future, logging, habitat fragmented by roads and railroads, lost habitat outside of protected areas, even poaching. Why would you go kill a panda? You're weird. Perhaps as few as 1,800 survive in the wild. It once extended across southern China, its habitat. So if you want to help wildlife, be involved in World Wildlife Fund. They do good work. So don't have unlimited showtime here. We got 9:25. And anything else on here? We could not even fight these tough battles without our most important, powerful tool, the help and support of our caring, compassionate members. And folks, it's good to be caring. It's good to be compassionate. And that quote from Jeremiah is real. Care for Leviathan. You know, because if you care for Leviathan, you'll care about his habitat. You know, and that means the oceans. So get the plastics and the tar out of them, you know, so that Leviathan might be happier, so that the plankton might live longer, that, you know, is what, and the shrimp, for that is, the sperm whales like shrimp. They like octopus too. Boy, oh boy, they like octopus. Here's another one, EDF Century Fund. Organizations you might like. And this is the Environmental Defense Fund. They've been around for 50 years. Since 67, yeah, mighty good year. Yes, I remember 1967. It was a very good year. Outstanding year for music. Oh, God, a lot of good music was composed and performed in that year. Oh, they have Claim Your Free DDT Wars. First person account of the work of a handful of scientists and a lawyer who took on the powerful DDT industry and won. Yeah, that's for real. It thinned eggshells, among others, of, yes, America's symbol, the bald eagle. It was driving the bald eagle to extinction. That was real. You know? We confront a new set of challenges to our work, DDT Wars, an inspiring, relevant story. Remind us against the fight against the toughest of odds, we can still succeed. Well, if you don't try, then you have failed. So the Environmental Defense Fund, been around for 50 years, since 67, folks. And environmental challenges and political obstacles we face may appear overwhelming. Congress and Trump administration, assaults on vital protections of our public health and natural resources, working to undo climate pollution standards. Yeah, they got to deal with politics. It's not the Democratic Party. It's the Environmental Defense Fund. And it's 50th anniversary year. The resolve to protect and defend our natural heritage. They're at 257 Park Avenue South, New York, New York. And have a good evening, Governor and Donovan. Trying to keep it real and exciting and happy. Bye-bye. Long Green Line, a collective recognition of the individuals who make up the special organization's 50th year anniversary. So, yes, Environmental Defense Fund. EDF continues to make substantial progress in other important areas. EDF is partnering with many states and corporations that are in support of reducing our country's greenhouse gas emissions. Forward-looking companies know that clean energy technologies will be a major growth contributor to the global economy, and they are investing in their development. These are our domestic working partners who will shape America's future. They don't want to be left behind in the inevitable clean energy revolution of our time. Important fact to remember: oil, coal, and natural gas are depleting. That's why we're doing the tar sands. That's why we're doing shale. For many years, I thought, it was kept an industry secret because the chemicals used in bringing forth the shale, the oil from the shale, these were developed back in the 50s, along with horizontal drilling. But just the past decade or so have been, we do this, we're high tech, this is the latest. Balderdash, So, continuing. But the stuff's depleting, and it can't last forever anyways. And you don't want to suck it out of the ground, within a century and turn around and burn it. You'll have climate disaster, Make it last 1,000 years. Go to clean sources of energy. The oceans. EDF. Trying to restore the world's major stressed and dying fisheries over the next 2 decades. The majority of American fisheries are now on the path to sustainability. EDF has moved into the largest and most important market in the world, the Asia Pacific. Our work in Indonesia, China, and Japan and 3 other countries will have a profound effect on fish populations around the world and on the future global supply of fish ecosystems. EDF doing groundbreaking work with farmers to optimize the use of fertilizer to help cut greenhouse gas emissions and to keep our water supplies cleaner and safer. We are working with coastal communities to create natural infrastructure solutions that will increase coastal resilience against rising seas. And you don't really have to use the word infrastructure. You can just use the word structure. That word's overused. We're not talking a sewer system or an aqueduct or a road or a railroad or even a bridge. These are more along the lines of jetties, breakwaters, and loss of habitat is the biggest threat to wildlife. 70% of our country's land is in private hands. EDF continues to forge partnership with farmers and ranchers to provide incentives to protect and even increase natural wildlife habitat areas on private property. You end up with, among other things, a good pasture has a good variety of plants that cattle, sheep, goats can feed on and actually end up better nourished with better tasting meat, maybe more wool. Human health. This has the chemical safety laws, working to make the new administration accountable for strong implementation of the reformed law while expanding our work with corporations to drive harmful chemicals out of household products and our food. and our ambitious effort to fight the scourge of lead exposure by accelerating the removal of lead drinking water pipes. Well, there's not a lot of lead pipes. Where there is the lead, it's at the joints. You know, you sweat the solder in and it has some lead in it. Solder, I think, is mainly lead and zinc anyways. Low melting temperatures, around 650, 700 degrees. Although some older pipes do have a little lead in them. Every Environmental Defense Fund generation faces difficult challenges. Last few months are any guide. This will be the toughest period in our history. Never been bigger or stronger. We can despair, but we cannot be defeated. And so celebrate the spirit of 67 with the EDF. Environmental Defense Fund at 800-694-3322. Many of the folks here at the Peace and Justice Network are definitely part of the Environmental Defense Fund. Now, here's Audubon, California. Hey, we got bird watchers. We got a veterinary show here, so just sharing with you some more things. I guess some people call this liberal junk mail. And Audubon to California, they're over at 220 Montgomery Street, over in SF. 150 years. Californians have led the way in protections. They're giving us a thank you. Reversing environmental protections. Endangered Species Act is getting undermined. Audubon of California is working behind the scenes too. We need your help and pressure. They could use a donation. On behalf of birds and their habitat have become a model for the rest of the nation. What we've achieved here in California, that's a good thing. Can create a healthy, sustainable environment. That's what we're trying to do. Prevent unscrupulous habitat and destruction and degradation in areas vital to bird survival like the San Jacinto Valley, where birds as diverse as loggerhead shrikes, burrowing owls, and red-head ducks depend upon the mix of wetlands and agricultural lands that are being threatened with yet more habitat loss. Support our centers and sanctuaries where we provide places for people from diverse communities to play, learn, experience nature, people who will be the next generation of conservation leaders. So that's Audubon of California, good organization. Audubon scientists are use global information system technology to map how climate change is affecting birds and where it will be most important to focus our efforts in the future. Ridgeways rails may lose habitat when levees will be installed to protect shorelines from rising sea levels. Again, restore habitat. Centers, sanctuaries, and chapters engages volunteers across California to restore habitat. Volunteers remove invasive plant species and replace them with native ones. That's important here in California. It's a unique ecosystems because the mountain ranges and the deserts separate us from the rest of the United States. That we have unique ecosystems here. And that's true in other parts of the country, but not quite as distinctly as here in California. Autobahn amplifies your voice to resist legislation that will remove environmental protections for birds like the California condors and northern spotted owls. Autobahn works with partners to keep food in the sea for birds, restore habitat that birds need in marshes and bays, and protect birds like the black oyster catchers and the western snowy plovers that nest on shores. As the Salton Sea dries, Audubon is working with local partners to protect this vital water, food, and habitat source for birds like American white pelicans, western grebes, and other migratory birds that rely on the sea in the middle of the desert that was caused by a flood of the Colorado a little over 100 years ago, I think around 1912. And, that was one of the reasons Hoover Dam was built. But, there's wisdom in the flood. God's wisdom. Man just has to see it coming and act accordingly and be knowledgeable of it and work with it, not against it. Continuing to march, sticking on the ecology scene here, environmental scene for the moment. Now, we got a longtime friend of mine, and that is the Sierra Club. Oh, tree hugger, Sierra Club, homo, yeah. Get my pinch-face conservative look going there. Yep, Sierra Club, fine organization. They're also over in SF. That's their HQ. And let me get that headquarters for you. I'm not seeing it in the moment. Yeah, there we go. Oh, 2101 Webster Street, Suite 1300, Oakland, California. And in the 94612 area. Also, SierraClub.org. Good organization. Good to be involved. Now, they got a big thing going on the bees. Since 2006, beekeepers across the country have been struck with a mysterious collapse of their colonies so severe scientists are rushing to study what they call colony collapse disorder. Oh, massive die-off is linked to exposure to neonicotinoids, a nerve agent class of pesticides. Oh boy, I was in the Army, NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. Oh yeah. Evil stuff. German chemical giant Bayer provides to seed companies to coat corn and soybean seeds to kill pests. Trouble is, they kill bees, the pollinators. Oh, they're insects. Now, if we lose bees, we lose more than honey. See, they're pollinators. We also lose strawberries, avocados, peaches, pumpkins, and more than 140 fruits and vegetables that depend on hardworking honeybees for pollination. Yeah, they're more important. The bees are more important than the neonicotinoids. We'll lose small family farms. estimated $15 billion in ag revenue, and local businesses will be hurting too. And won't you be kind of hungry? Now, the EPA finalized a policy to mitigate the acute risk to bees from pesticide products. And it's outlining methods for addressing risks to bees, including prohibiting the application of acutely toxic chemicals under conditions when bees are most likely to be present. It works. Scott Pruitt, well, tell them, carry it out. Now, join us in an all-out campaign to save America's honeybees by doing 3 important things today. Plant the seeds I've sent. I need to plant those. They sent me a little bag of them. Not a real big bag, but, you know, a Kool-Aid size little packet. It's a mix of bee-friendly flower seeds. Has not been poisoned by neonicotinoids. Provide a safe source of food to help support the bee population. Then there's send money and sign a petition, which is good things too. Sierra Club is America's oldest and most effective grassroots organization. It's got expertise, connections, and clout to protect our nation's most vulnerable wildlife. And we cannot survive if we lose 44% of our bees each year. They are directly responsible for roughly 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we consume. Bayer routinely put out their poison profits ahead of the prudent stewardship of the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the creatures that play a role in the sustainability of our environment. When presented with scientific evidence that neonicotinoids are responsible for the demise of honeybees, European Union officials acted immediately to suspend most of the uses of neonicotinoids in 2013 until further research could be conducted. They suspended it. That is, that stuff isn't going to be applied anywhere, or very few places, under severely limited circumstances, justification. And thank you. Looks like Antonio sent a photo. Thank you, Antonio. I'm seeing it up on the screen there. I sure do appreciate it. Good for them. We ought to do the same thing here. Now, the EPA claims the agency will review the situation in 2018. Wow. 5 years after the Europeans said, no, this stuff's bad. So now there's part of the mitigate the acute risk to bees from pesticide products. There's a managed pollinator protection plans that further encourage states and tribes to reduce pesticide exposure to bees. This plan will work if enforced. And we need to encourage him to enforce it. So thank you. That's an introduction to the Sierra Club, provided by the Saturday Evening News with yours truly, Ricardo Arturo Slezak. That's me. So, continuing to march. Now, here's something from the ASPCA, American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Oh, we got Fido's down and out. He's in the funk. And we don't want Fido in a funk. 300 animals that were rescued by the ASPCA from filthy, deplorable conditions at a neglectful shelter in Alabama. Heartbreaking scene. Many of the animals were emaciated. Now, this is Baxter. That's a way cool dog, you know, and hopefully he's found a new home. Baxter spent nearly a month in intensive care, but he was coughing, incredibly weak, struggled for every breath. Assistance for these types of cases can range from weeks to months to years. Timing is uncertain, but our members' support ensures we are always ready to help. Continuing. Rescuing animals from life-threatening situations like dog fighting, operations, puppy mills, and other animal cruelty cases. So this is the ASPCA. We are always on call, ready to rescue animals across the country who urgently need our help. Baxter is now safe. This is from Matt Bershadecker, President and CEO. And ASPCA is 424 East 92nd Street. That's Midtown Manhattan. A little above Midtown. New York, New York. And continuing to march. So ASPCA, worth being involved with. There's no excuse for animal abuse. There we go. Yeah, Harry Truman said, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. Because I don't think anybody will be a friend. That Gianforte fellow, boy, oh boy, did they pick a lemon. And, oh, here's a, okay, continuing. Yeah, EDF. Yeah, here's more stuff from the EDF. Environmental Defense Fund. Leave that there. Uh-oh, time-sensitive, nature conservative, or apply by May 31st. Oh, they're so good. But here's the Nature Conservancy. Many organizations doing much good. Care for the Earth. It's the only planet we can go to. Don't have to go very far. It's right there. Yeah. Universal pressure holding us to it. That is dark matter pressing down on us. Okay, they got a wealthy patron who will match your donation. And Northern Sierra Mountains to the Mojave Desert. California's full of beauty. And Protecting Nature Together. They're over at 201 Mission Street in the city on the 4th floor. And you can find them at nature.org/California. Protecting Nature, Preserving Life. That's the Nature Conservancy. They're good folk. And clean air and water to plentiful food to habitat for native wildlife like sandhill cranes, and of course the inspiration and natural beauty when we need it most. That's what they're working for. working towards. That is the Nature Conservancy. They've gotten some land conservation activities going as well, especially right up here on just to the west of I-5, just north San Joaquin County, kind of south central along I-5 corridor, where the tall towers are. A lot of that's wildlife refuge. Now here's a good organization, the United Negro College Fund. And these black colleges were formed up because, hey, black people couldn't get into white college. And so they formed those, like Howard University and such like. And so they're doing great work. They're in Boston, Massachusetts. They just sent me a bunch of nice things, nice cards. And, oh, it's a wall magnet, a refrigerator, or don't put them on your computer. They'll give it scramble brain. On behalf of every bright young person who will now be able to attend college in recognition of a generous gift to the United Negro College Fund. That's from Michael L. Lomax, President and CEO. He's got PhD. That's good, a learned man. So, United Negro College Fund. Mind is a terrible thing to waste. Good thing to contribute to. Introducing organizations. Oh my, we got 9:55. Oh my, closing in on it. Oh my. Now here's a granddaddy. This one is deeply hated. The American Civil Liberties Union. Oh! 125 Broad Street, New York, New York. And one of the biggest Northern California chapters, one of the largest chapters in the country. So I've been involved with them. I was involved with the local chapter for quite a few years, and we were active against excessive bails being done here in San Joaquin County, and worked quite a bit with Stockton Unified to reduce disproportionate suspensions upon kids of color, brought more understanding into the schools. And it didn't cause the schools to fall apart in chaos. It just, I think the implementation of in-school suspension, among other things. But, keep the kid there. Make him part of the community, Try to keep him somewhat happy. A place of being, of belonging. That's why, like for poor kids, Oh, you could get a little breakfast or, a free breakfast or a free lunch, Hey, if you get there at 7 and you don't leave till 4 or 5, that's a good school. Because they're kids. They don't really eat all that much. Just a little snack, Stuff like that just makes all the difference. Then not everybody there at the school has to be super educated, but they have to be kind and caring and remember the kids. That can... it saves lives because it makes kids a little happier, a bit better accepted, Maybe a boy will be nice to girls even there and when he's older too, That can save quite a bit of grief, that in itself. The ACLU, yeah, American Civil Liberties Union. Helping mount a vigorous, spirited defense of the Constitution and core American values. And now they always need money. You know, they spend it wisely, spend it well. Excuse me. ACLU, full throttle response to Donald Trump and those helping to push his assault on the Constitution. Well, any man that tells you, hey, we got a couple of submarines heading north from the Philippines up to North Korea. Unfit for public office. Unfit to be a military officer. No, I mean, if you're unfit to be a military officer, then it should be an automatic impeachment from the presidency. That's my own humble opinion. Now, over the past 4 months, Americans have helped the ACLU act on the promise we made the day after Johnny Three Wives was elected. Anytime he or his administration tried to trample on people's constitutional rights, they would be in for the fight of their lives. And hey, who fought the Muslim ban? ACLU. Defending reproductive rights, making sure the rights of immigrants aren't trampled on, combating efforts to suppress voting rights. Johnny Three Wives claims fake news, endless finger pointing, alternative facts. His administration's moving forward with laws and policies that are already impacting people's lives in devastating ways. Okay, your financial support will be used to carry out nationwide defense of people's rights on a massive scale. It is 10:04 p.m. on the computer clock and 10 p.m. on the wall clock. You are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. Richard Slezak with the Saturday Evening News, introducing various organizations that you can belong to or just informing you of them. We will employ every tactic at our disposal. Strategic litigation. This is on the American Civil Liberties Union. Been around since 1919. Ooh, 98 years. The Palmer raids, you know. Them's as communists. We're going to throw them in jail. You know, huh? How can you throw somebody in jail for a philosophy? You really can't. Well, you can, but it makes kind of a mockery of the Constitution, you know. Continuing, lobbying and advocacy at every level, national, state, and in local communities. We've done it. They do it. Widespread grassroots mobilization. Now, they like to have more direct control from the HQs than they used to have. When I was involved with them, they say, why aren't you growing? Well, we're just here. They were just a bunch of old guys. I think everybody there was over 50. But what the heck? You know, it wasn't like we rejected young people. We're always reaching out. But the guys that showed up, the people that showed up to the meetings, it's kind of old. A few ladies down in their 30s or their 40s. Public education and know your rights info. We have 300 litigators on payroll nationwide, 100 them in the NYC HQ. 11,000 attorneys work at the Justice Department under Beauregard. Beauregard sessions, yeah. With lawyers and organizations on the ground in every state, the ACLU is uniquely positioned to lead the state-by-state defense of civil liberties. We have the staff in place, local relationships established, and the ground game ready to go. We are building on a solid foundation by focusing even more attention on critical states with large populations that decide the trajectory of national policies. to protect people's civil liberties within these states, but also to win victories that will shape the course of events nationwide. Just last month, at more than 2,200 events across the country, the ACLU launched People Power, an initiative to create a targeted, impactful nationwide grassroots resistance to Johnny Three Wives' assault on our Constitution and our values. ACLU's multifaceted strategy. People Power to play a major role in critical issues like immigrants' rights, opposing the Muslim ban, challenging efforts to blacklist and defund Planned Parenthood, turning back attacks on the LGBT community. Oh yeah. Born that way, but they shouldn't have the right to marry. I don't think they're born that way. I think they choose to be. No. Sexuality is too deep. Don't know everything about it, but yeah, the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. Not expensive to join. It's only like $20 a year, and they do have a local chapter. Gavin Grimm, a 17-year-old high school student, is challenging a school's discriminatory restroom policy that segregates transgender students from their peers. Because of this change in guidance, the Supreme Court decided to send his potentially landmark case on behalf of transgender kids' rights back to a lower court for reconsideration. The ACLU has a long, successful history of challenging anti-LGBT laws. In February, the administration leaked a draft proposal, executive order, I shared that on this air, that would have created a slew of new religious exemptions. ACLU and partner organizations mobilized broad opposition to this leaked draft, helping to effectively kill the order, at least for now. State-based challenges. 22 states have introduced 48 different religious exemption laws this year alone to limit the rights of the LGBT community. Rely on the argument that sincerely held religious beliefs of an individual organization should outweigh the rights and protections of LGBT people in everything from adoption to health care to social services, even to marriage. In essence, these laws allow for taxpayer-funded discrimination. So, yeah. From Standing Rock to the Women's March, from airport protests to the Muslim ban to Black Lives Matter marches across the country, we're experiencing historic levels of protest. And in response to these democracy in action, legislatures in at least 15 states have proposed new laws to criminalize and penalize protest activities. Some of these have been dressed up as bills having to do with obstruction of public safety, but at their core they have one intent and effect, that is to suppress dissent. Protesters and water protectors camped out for more than a year near North Dakota's Standing Rock Reservation. Pipelines going forward, protests were resoundingly effective, creating worldwide awareness and delaying the construction. Thank you, Native people, especially the Lakota Sioux. You led it. Bless you. You gave us all greater purpose to live. Show us how. Lead it. Fight for clean water. you know the opposition. They know you. So when they crawl out of bed in the morning, you pop up. 4 o'clock. Guess who's here? It's not that quite that kind of battle, but thanks for standing up. Great leadership. Minnesota, following a police shooting death of Philando Castile, protests shut down part of a highway. As a result, Minnesota legislators drafted bills that would punish highway protesters with heavy fines and prison time and would make protesters liable for policing costs of an entire protest if they individually were convicted of unlawful assembly or public nuisance. ACLU will fight in state houses against any bill that violates the First Amendment, and for any bill that becomes law, we stand ready to go to court. We're confident the courts will see these bills for what they are, unlawful infringements on people's rights to speak out. We've seen troubling trend of companies attempting to squelch freedom of speech and people who disagree with their practices. Residents of Uniontown, Alabama. 4 residents of Uniontown. Guess who? Black, predominantly. Poor. The town is median per capita income around $8,000. So it's a family of 4 with 32 grand. That's still well below national average. Decide to fight the hazardous coal ash that Georgia-based Green Group Holdings. Oh, isn't that pleasant? Keeps in a landfill in their community. They were sued for defamation by the company to the tune of $30 million. No one should have faced a multi-million-dollar federal lawsuit for just organizing and speaking out for health and well-being of their community. Yeah, when the wind blows, the coal ash gets suspended in the air and they get to breathe it. Yikes. Coal can burn, does. Anthracite burns hot enough to melt steel. So does, not bituminous coal, but anthracite's better. Not much of it left. It's harder, more dense. ACLU took up the case and won a critical victory on behalf of the residents of Uniontown when the court dismissed the case. So, it's just a few examples, the ACLU in action. And again, their West Coast headquarters over in SF, big chapter here in Northern California. Southern California's got a big chapter, headquarters, and then the chapters are outlying. But we do have a chapter here in Stockton, San Joaquin County. Continuing to march. Got 10:12 on the wall clock, 10:16 p.m. on the computer clock. All righty. Yeah, it was from ACLU, World Wildlife Fund. What do we got here? Oh, you servants of God. Oh, it's always a good thing. Got a hymn. Yeah, going through interesting stuff, sharing it with you. Good organizations. And here is one of my favorites, and we'll close it up with this one. Well, here's a few more. Planned Parenthood, 123 William Street, New York, New York. Can find them on the PlannedParenthoodAction.org. And Planned Parenthood, no matter what. Cecile Richards, president. And is deciding to vote in the Senate to repeal Obama administration protections on Title 10 funding in the states, among other things. Title 10, the nation's family planning program, which helps millions of women afford reproductive health care and access to birth control. They want to cut Planned Parenthood. They want to defund it from any government money. It does nothing but good. And they provide health care, mainly for ladies, folks earning low incomes, young people, women of color, immigrants, and the LGBT community. Around 60% of Planned Parenthood patients depend on federal funding from Medicaid or the Title 10 family planning program to pay for health services they receive at a Planned Parenthood health center. They need help. They could use money. Gains women have won over the past century are on the chopping block. The people in charge of our government have a dangerous agenda. They control the Supreme Court. All righty. So, help out Planned Parenthood. All righty. And continuing to march. Here's from the Drug Policy Alliance, and George Soros backs them up. Colorado and Washington State led the way, becoming the first jurisdictions anywhere in the world to legally regulate marijuana, much like alcohol. Soon will to follow were Oregon, Alaska, District of Columbia, California, Maine, Massachusetts, and Nevada. Uruguay became the first nation to take this groundbreaking step, and it looks like Canada may soon follow. Criminalizing drugs like marijuana does not drive drug use down. It simply drives the drug trade underground and pushes away people who need help. Drug Policy Alliance, yes, good organization. They're at 131 West 33rd Street, New York, New York. And do we have probably have somewhere, let me page through here, looky-loo, who you, oh, that's from Public Citizen. Wah. So, dang. Drug Policy Alliance. So maybe just look for that online. Here's the thing on the war on drugs. But no website to go to. Bumma. Okay, well again, if you hear about them and help them out, talk to them, Drug Policy Alliance. I don't see a phone number either, but they're doing good stuff. And now, from the Southern Poverty Law Center, I'm not seeing that. So I could save that for next week. I think I'll do that. All righty. Well, we're getting there. And okay, I'll continue to march on. Public Citizen is also kind of a rabble-rouser group. And they're at citizen.org. They're a Washington, D.C. outfit. And they're trying to keep the ACA in place, Obamacare, and an enlightened Medicare for all system would also be a powerful voice against junk food, tobacco, alcohol, and drug corporations that prey on the most vulnerable in our society. An enlightened Medicare for all system would emphasize prevention, An ounce of single-payer prevention is worth a pound of high-tech medical cure. With your help, we're going to turn the fight over the Affordable Care Act and Donald Trump's promise to repeal and replace it with something fantastic into a debate between single-payer health care and some unknown scam yet to be cooked up by Trump. So, medical bills are the number one cause of personal bankruptcies in the United States. Bernie Sanders has it right in the healthcare debate. There can be no compromise with the health insurance industry. Yeah, Shirone. Yeah, it's Public Citizen. So give them a look at, along with Planned Parenthood and Drug Policy Alliance. And yeah, I had one more for you, but I am run out of gas with it. I just poof, and it was gone. And since it poofed and gone, I can't repoof it and restore it. And so, heck, that was a good stint. That's on organizations. So with that, folks, it's been real good being with you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come back over here. Saturday Evening News with Richard Slezak. This has been a fun time sharing with you. Boop, boop, boop. Come on. All righty. Going to get the music back up here. And we got 10:25 p.m. You are web tuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. We have wonderful sponsors. Hotel Furniture Liquidators, 1648 North Shaw Road, Furniture. Books at the Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue, and Doors Book Recyclery, 2310 Pacific Avenue. Custom Plastics and Signs, plastic fabrication, plastic sheets, plastic rods, plastic tubes, corrugated plastic signage, stencils, vehicle and boat graphics, t-shirts printed, business cards printed, displays printed on and created at Custom Plastics and Signs, 320 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. Millennium Computer Repair, Headman Sarfraz Khan. Give them a call, 209-922-1879 for computer repairs of all kinds. Again, that's Sarfraz Khan at Millennium Computer Repair, 209-922-1879. Habitat for Humanity, building accoutrements, furniture, artwork, fuse boxes, windows, all kinds of stuff, building supplies. They're at 4933 West Lane, 100 yards south of March Lane. They're at March and West Lane. Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily. Opens 4:30 in the morning, Mondays through Saturdays, and 5:30s on Sundays, open till 6. Chenrith and Sivson, bake 'em fresh daily at Tender Donuts, 1304 East Hammer at Holman. Leaders T-shirt printing, 500 East Lodi Avenue at Garfield. Get that T-shirt printed up in Lodi. All right. What do we got here? An envelope of stuff. All rightius. Get some music going here. Whoop. Oh, good thing that wasn't at a peculiar spot. Push the wrong button. Yes, that's our shopping music for a Saturday night. Oh boy. And it's been real good being with you folks. Remember, it's going to be getting warm during the day, so maintain your salt intake if you do a lot of hard work. Maintain your mineral balances in your bodies, prevents cramping. Don't want to get a cramp when you're swimming, especially in the river. Woo, not good. And been fun sharing stuff with you. Be back tomorrow night, continuing listening to the Voice of Stockton.org. Sure do appreciate you being here. And we're looking for sponsors, so business folks, come on down and help us out, and you could probably even get a show going, which would be a good thing. Help you out, help us out, help the community out. And those of you, church in the morning. Good thing, church in the morning. Be social, be good. And with that, we're going to just call it an evening with you. And you take care. Talk to you tomorrow on the Islam Show. And continue listening. See you around town. Take care. This is the Voice of Stockton.org. This has been the Saturday Evening News. Alrighty, folks, we're still on the air. That just had to show. Replay later. Shopping. 50s shopping intro extended. Techno acts. Alright, take care.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
The Third City Podcast